this here. So we're good. Good evening, everybody. Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is the Harlingen Community Improvement Board. I've got 5:31 PM. I'm gonna read a short conflict of interest statement for everybody to listen to. Under state law, a conflict of interest exists if a council member or certain members of that person's family has a qualifying financial interest in an agenda item. Members with a conflict of interest cannot participate in the discussion nor vote on the agenda item. Are there any known conflict of interests to disclose at this time?
And that's just for the board members, so you would have to respond to that.
You can say 5 plus. So with hearing a no, let's go ahead and continue on in the meeting. First item up, citizen communication. We don't have any tonight, okay? Without any citizens communication, let's go to item agenda number 1. That's approval of the minutes from our last meeting, September 5th, 2024. Those are attached. I think it's about 3 pages in. The meeting was September 5th, 2024. I know we do have a new member today, but we'll still take a look, see, everybody had a chance to review those meeting notes. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
You know, motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, unanimous, 5-0. Let's take a look at number 2 on the agenda. Consideration and possible action to adopt the Harlingen Community Improvement Board financial statements ending June 30th. And we have a finance manager here today. Robert?
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board, Mayor, Commissioner, and staff. My name is Robert Rodriguez. For the record, I'm the Finance Director for the City of Harlingen. I'll give you a quick overview of the financial statements, the last ones that we have, which are June 30th, 2025. So we'll start with the balance sheet on the second page. You'll have total assets of $7,201,783. 7 million of that is in cash and cash equivalents. 181,683 is accounts receivable, which represents our property taxes receivable from the state. Our liabilities total 146,018. That liability represents a retainage payable for a project that is still ongoing that hasn't been fully completed. So the net of the 7,201,000 in assets less your 146,000 in total liabilities is the net of that is 7,055,766, which represents the total fund balance, or in a business that would be your retained earnings, equity. So we turn the page. We'll go to the revenue and expenditures and fund balance. So for the current month, we did record a receivable for the 181,000 in sales tax. So we also generated $365 in interest income. So your total revenue for the month to date is 182,048. There were no expenditures during this month. Cumulative to date, we have collected 1,702,000 in sales tax. We collected 181,000 in interest, and we have paid out 200,000 for the spay and neuter services that were approved for the budget for this year. So to date, our revenues over expenditures are 1,683,769. Add that to our beginning fund balance of 5,371,997. That brings our ending fund balance at the end of June 30th, 2025 to 7,055,766. And that's broken down by unassigned fund balance of 5,306,338. There's a convention center debt that we pay on an annual basis that has not been paid, but that will be paid on August 15th. That totals 605,469. We had some remainder funds for projects that have been completed, but there have been some remaining funds. The Hike and Bike Trail, 13,788. The Tony Butler Golf Course had remaining funds of 26,086. And the Lansing Hill Destination Park Phase 2 had 1,104,085 for a project that has been started.
That was for the all-inclusive ball field that we put on hold.
Okay,
Because when that came up, we didn't have enough funds to actually complete that. right?
Because it
So
had
what we
gone
did-
up, right?
Right, so what we did was we allocated money to do the trail at Lonte Hill Park, and we did that in-house. And we eliminated the amphitheater, and we just left this. So at some point, we have to come back and have a discussion of whether we want to do this particular phase of the project.
Okay,
So that's a brief overview of the financial statements. I believe we also provided some historical financial information, balance sheet, income statements, and a breakdown of all of the costs for those years. by project.
let me ask one, if I'm reading this correctly, we thought our budget for this fiscal year would be 1.9, and we're already at 1.7. We still got what, July, August, September, October, 4 months to go?
Just September.
For sales tax, that is correct.
Just September,
Yes.
okay. So that's
So
pretty
this
good.
is as of June, so we do need July, August, and September, 3 months.
3 months potentially, okay.
So we're actually doing pretty good.
Yeah, the sales tax. Okay.
We're actually doing really, really good.
Pretty well, okay. Anybody have any questions, concerns? Any new questions? I know we have a couple new board members. Any questions on kind of financial statements?
Not at this time.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve? Do we have to approve? Sorry, let me look at that.
This is an action item.
Oh, okay, it is.
Make a motion to approve.
We have one motion. Motion to second?
Second.
All in favor of the financial statement provided by the finance department for the Harlingen Computing Improvement Board, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Okay, next item on our agenda tonight, item number 3, we have a presentation by the Possible Dream Foundation.
Those are our board members, so we want to make sure they get. Here's one for you.
No, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yes, have those.
Mayor, they have extras if you'd like to have them. Do you,
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioner, members of the board. My name is Daniel King. I am the chairman of the board of the Possible Dream Foundation. Present here are other board members, our board treasurer Julian Alvarez, who some of you should know. Betsy Cantú, also is on the board. And then superintendent of the school that we're starting up, that we'll be talking about today is Darcy Cuellar. And I'll turn your attention to this, I don't know, the PowerPoint type handout on the right pocket. Possible, I noticed a little hesitation there, it's misspelled on purpose because the focus is on abilities and on people's abilities, right? So what kind of drives this work here, on the second page, there's a Wallet Hub report that comes out every year, the most least educated cities in America. And on year after year, this is kind of what the rankings look like. They rank the top 150 MSAs, the least educated adult population. MSA is the McAllen MSA, which is the Alamo County. The second least educated adult population is adults 25 and older, is the Brownsville MSA, which is Cameron County. Laredo, Texas is in similar shape. You can see across the board about 30% here along the border of adults do not have a high school diploma. Laredo's not in the rankings because this measured the top 150 MSAs, and Laredo is the 174th largest MSA. That's the reason. If you turn 2 pages back, which is very relevant to you, is Cameron County. And so this data comes from, well, I uploaded from the census data. And you can see there, you can go through all the way in detail what the education level of the Cameron County population is. So you can see that 15% more or less have less than 9th grade, have not completed 9th grade. And then another 12% got through 9th grade, but never got all the way through to a diploma. So some of those might have made it almost to graduation, some of them, you know, got maybe 2 years of high school and so forth. And those are the main things from that I'll do not take too much of your time. The other pages, I show the other 2 counties and kind of show statistics on what it does for your annual earnings. You all are pretty familiar with that, what it does for your lifetime earnings, your education level on the average, right? On the left-hand side of your pocket, if you'll pull out, and so, what we're here for, the Pasco Green Foundation, is, we are opening this fall in each of these three counties on this report, we're opening adult charter high schools, chartered by the Texas Education Agency, to serve adults between the ages of 18 and 50 years old, that do not have a high school diploma. And, our goal this fall, we plan to open in August, our goal is to enroll, pretty ambitious, plan to enroll, our goal is to enroll 900 adults across these three, counties, get on with it. The design of this school is called a subchapter G charter school, so you're familiar with charter schools in the area, these are subchapter C and D, and they serve school-age children, okay? This is a charter school, under charter school authorization laws, but it's for adults, so adults 18 to 50. This is all based, and I'll just give you, so our team has a lot of experience in this, of course, we're on with the Workforce Commission. Lexi does a lot of work with special needs. Darcy was a principal. I used to be superintendent of Far San Juan Alamo Independent School District. I was superintendent for 20 years, in 2 different districts. And there I opened the first adult high school in the state of Texas that served adults, above the age of 21, and was able to draw down state funding, find a loophole in the law. We graduated, over 12 years, we graduated 3,018 to 26-year-olds, in that program. In 2015, and we used a dual enrollment approach. We enrolled with South Texas College, helped them get certificates, and move on to the associate degree, a handful going on to get their bachelor degree. In 2015, some influential people in Austin convinced the state of Texas to take this dual enrollment high school recovery model and have a pilot in the state to go up to age 50. And so that law passed. Austin Goodwill runs this in Austin. They've graduated about 2,018 to 50-year-olds in the last 10 years. So we're turning out about 200 a year on the average graduates, okay? And so, I've been anxious to get this going in the valley, especially since we were kind of the initiators of the concept. And in 2023, they passed a law allowing 10 more pilots. And so, set up a foundation to be eligible to apply. You got the IRS letter in your left-hand pocket. And we went through a very rigorous, process over about a 9-month period with the Texas Education Agency, application, capacity interviews, and so forth. And we've been approved, we've been granted the charter. On the back of this brochure here, it's kind of what it's all about. So one is a high school diploma, this is not a GED program, it's a high school diploma. So they have to earn all the credits like any high school student. They have to pass their exit exams, like any high school student. So it's a challenging undertaking. But like I said, we've done that with before. Darcy, I mentioned her, she was principal of the high school in FAR for about 4 or 5 years, the last 4 or 5 years I was there, and has a lot of experience in that area. So besides a high school diploma, we're required to see that they get industry-based certifications in high-need areas based on their workforce board. And so those are listed here when we put in the application. It's not restricted to those, but those are the priority focus. We're also required to offer whatever wraparound support they need. These are challenging to serve individuals. So over on the right hand, we had to certify that we would be arguing and finding different ways to meet all these needs that these adults, may have. We will be held accountable by the state for 5 metrics. 1, do we meet our enrollment goals? Do we sustain enrollment? 2 is high school graduation rate. Now these are pilots, so the first few years they're gonna be establishing what are the levels of success that they're gonna be measuring. And then, having been in public education, I run Region 1, by the way, in my job. This is my community service. But I've been in the education business 48 years. So I kind of know how the system works. And so they'll take 2 or 3 years to develop metrics based on seeing how the schools are doing and determine. And then over the years, they'll up those as schools achieve those. So it's going to be meeting the enrollment goals, high school graduation rate, % that complete certificates or transition on into college if that's their goal. placement, do they get a job at the end of this, are they employed, and what are their wages? And, you know, are their wages family, you know, wages that can support, they can support a family. And so we'll be taking this on, the plan has been, so we've been authorized to serve 900 in year one, so we have a 5-year plan to grow it to 1,800 a year. So you can see the need is very large, so we're trying to aggressively grow to meet that need. Now, in our plan design, it was to open in Brownsville, somewhere in Hidalgo County, and Laredo in year one. And then year two, come to Harlingen and so forth and start growing. We've had several key people, the mayor, TSTC that have reached out to us and said, like, can you come now? And so TSTC is working to see if they can provide a space. It's a win for them too. The two-year colleges have all lost enrollment since the pandemic. And so that has an effect on the community too, because that's less, school districts have lost enrollment, dropout rates have gone up a bit after years of bringing them down. And the colleges, especially the two-year colleges, have lost also. So they see this as a win for them. We can get these adults into their high quality. So we're taking under review right now the possibility of accelerating getting directly. So in Brownsville, we're going to be on the Texas Southwest College campus, and the plan was to use the metros to get people there from Harlingen, San Diego, stuff like that in year one, and then year two come over here. So we're evaluating the possibility of accelerating and coming over here quicker. And so that's basically what it's here about. Just you have these with you, just FYI, just so if you know. We have posters that put around town and different things like that, but on this form here, this QR code, if you know adults and if you want to help, you know, good places to put up posters and things like that, they scan this code and they can apply for admission. It's an open enrollment chart. So basically the way it works is if we're oversubscribed, we do a lottery. If we're undersubscribed, we take everybody that applies that's within that age range and so forth. So that's what I wanted to share with you. As we go along over time, as we're doing the industry-based certifications, typically, like a lot of the other programs, when you're doing that, would be going to the workforce board, EDCs and so forth, to see about supporting some of the adults, citizens from your given community for the certificate aspect of that, you know, continuing education and so forth. And so that's what I have for you, and I'm here for any questions also, if you have any.
Well, let me start. Thank you for coming, appreciate it. Some of the history of our board here, we did work with TSTC. We funded their articulation center, I think is what they called it in the beginning. Remember the infrastructure?
We paid for all the electrical components
Yes.
of that.
So that's been, so I mean, we have a decent working relationship. I guess noble costs. I wouldn't have anything bad to say about it. What do you think the ask would be of the 4B board? What do you think your ask would be?
Well, one, you know your rules and what you can do better than I do, but the two things that we've been going around and looking for, one, we've been looking for, and we do have an application in just in transparency with the Valley Baptist Legacy Foundation, which I think is gonna get some favorable. So we've been the one thing that we're looking for is startup funds. This is a public school. Once we have enrollment and we get through first 6 weeks attendance reporting, we submit our attendance to TA and they'll start funding us on the average daily attendance like schools. We can't get students in the seat, we don't have faculty. So we're in the process of onboarding faculty. We need to train them, we need registrars, we need some of the counselors, et cetera. We're required to have, for example, we're required to have a success coach for every 100 students. They're requiring that. Most high schools have a counselor for 400, 500, sometimes 600 students. We're required because these are challenging people, so we're required to have at least one success coach for every 100, for example. We're required to have a wraparound services coordinator to help connect them if they need daycare, if they need, you know, any of these other things. So we're looking anywhere we can for startup, support. And then as we go along, what I mentioned is, I would imagine coming back for, I believe that y'all, that this board, has the capability of funding worker, you know, training programs for key industries that there's a need for. And so that would be, you know, down the road as we, enroll and assess where these students are and as they're, you know, one of the things I've been asked is how long does the program take? Well, it's gonna be a very complex program because some of the individuals that come in got all their high school credits but couldn't pass their exits. And they gave up. They took them 2, 3, 4 times and they quit, right? They gave up. And so for those, it's a matter of going in and doing a deep dive on their math, their reading, their science, and helping them through the exit. A lot of those, in our experience, we can get those taken care of normally in a couple of months. There's gonna be others that didn't even start high school.
Yeah.
Or quit as a freshman. So those, it's gonna be a multi-year journey. For those, we're not gonna be focusing on the job training and placement until we get them close to graduation. Because we're held accountable if they get a high school diploma, and so that's our first challenge. So I hope that helps.
It does, yes.
I wanted him to, sorry, I wanted him to present here because given the structure of how quickly they could potentially get into the workforce is going to limit what this work can do. Because if you've got a group that's gonna be in school for 3 or 4 years to complete their diploma, then the 4A isn't going to be able to support that. But they would be able to support once they're within a certain period of time they're in the workforce.
Yeah.
So since this is more of a quality of life and we're looking to see, it'd be, you know, the data here shows Camden County and the need for it. It's more of a quality of life for those that are potentially wanting to complete that diploma to provide, you know, more opportunities for their family. And I know there's a lot of people that, older folks that, cause this is up to 50 years old, maybe they've got a child that's in high school and they wanna show them, hey, I'm gonna do this too. Maybe I didn't complete it, but now I have an opportunity to do it. Those are things that I think for this board, just, you know, to consider. And it'd be interesting if, you know, this does move forward in the public hearings, what kind of, you know, what kind of engagement you get from these individuals. So I know you shared that there was already some applicants, from
Yes.
Harlingen.
So right now, between Harlingen and San Benito, we haven't pushed hard in this committee yet, because we've been, but we have about 50 applicants right now.
Okay.
We're gonna come here and we go really hard. I'm pretty sure that we can get 100 or more without any problem.
This is active right now?
Yeah, that's active right now.
Okay.
And so people can sign up for that right now.
Okay.
Just to give you an example, we've had a couple cities in Hidalgo County pushing really hard. Of course, it's a larger county too, much, you know, double the population, but over there we have 520 applicants right now.
Okay.
There, so I think it'd be very easy to get 100, 200 here, whatever. We have about 100 in Brownsville right now. But I think we can, you know, and I think once it actually opens and gets that, that's when even more people, a lot of times people, it's something new like this, it's when they see it's real. That's when, you know, that's when you really start. And so imagine once that happens, we'll probably wind up with a waiting list. And so that's what, like I said, once we fill our spots and we have a waiting list, and as people complete or somebody, you know, stops out or whatever, then we onboard somebody else.
Go ahead.
Other than not having a high school degree, what would other be the requirements from the 18 to 50-year-olds that are gonna be a part of this program? What would they be required to have, documentation, you know, what's the?
We ask for their, you know, I mean, so it's open enrollment, so we have to accept whoever, right? But what we do ask them for is, you know, where they went to school at, so we try to work with them to get a hold of their school records. So we can analyze where they're at and what, you know, and all of that. And then we'll also do, you know, we'll do reading and math assessment to get what's their current skill level. So that we can do some, you know, those who may have key skill and knowledge gaps and so forth. So we can target those really early and try to build a foundation so they can move in. Some of them that may be really struggling for really math may need a lot of fundamental work to really move into like English 1, your freshman English 1 has an end of course exam, an exit exam, right? And so does Algebra 1. So if they're really lacking in the fundamentals, we're gonna have to do a really deep dig in working with them on their basics. But what we've seen in the past is these adults get a second chance. A lot of them come in, really motivated. There's some that struggle and drop in and out, but a lot of them come in really motivated. And like the mayor said, we've seen it changes the whole family. The kids they see mama or daddy sitting down, working to get their high school diploma, working to get a certification, and it brings to life the value of that education. And so the children also tend to get more focused and often sit side by side with mom and daddy that's sitting at the kitchen table and doing their homework and studying. And so a lot of times it builds that also. We've had a lot of in our past experience, we've had a lot of testimonials to that for example.
So will they be going to school on a daily basis?
That's our goal. We'll work with them. So we plan to run three sessions a day, a morning session, an afternoon session, and an evening session. And so right now, in the people that are signing up, the morning is the most popular. The evening is second most popular. The afternoon is a good number, but it's the least popular. It's a little different when we were in the younger ones for 18 to 26. The morning was the most popular. Afternoon was second. Almost none of them wanted the evening. And but these older adults are there's a high selection of so when they go to that QR code, they actually tell us what time of day works best for them as well. Now, if they have unique circumstances like they've got a job where they're working certain days a week and they're off other days, then we'll individualize the scheduling for them. So we'll be flexible with them as long. The main thing is for them to be to truly want it and be willing to work with us. Then we're gonna be flexible with them on the schedule.
Some of the students might need extra help besides the classroom. So will they be able to later on or earlier before their class have tutoring sessions
Yes.
for those students?
Yes, so we'll have tutoring and all of that, and then if you over on the right, if you look at the wraparound services, you'll see like academic coaching that encompasses tutoring as well. The other thing that you'll see there is mental wellness counseling and so forth like that. So if they have, if they're going through depression, different things like that, we're required to find a way, connect them, get them services. And so you can see their life coaching as well, job readiness, career coaching, things like that. So like I said, we're required to kind of, the purpose of this really is to meet them where they're at. And so when we did this in PSJ for the Younger, we talked about we're designing a school that fits the students. A lot of times students are asked to, are required to fit whatever the standard model of the school is. And some that don't fit wind up by the wayside. And so our job is to be as flexible as possible and come in with whatever support they need, so that we're designed to meet the students where they're at and help them to get where they wanna be.
So will some of them be taught on an individualized basis?
As
Or-
needed, yes. As needed, yes.
I saw these questions because I'm an academic, so.
Yeah, that's,
It's okay.
that's fine. No, I understand completely.
Gabe, anything that you wanted to add? This falls within our, maybe not recurring.
The 4A has actually funded like a similar deal with, it was with Vida trying to get nurses
Okay.
who were single moms. They were going through the program, but they limited the expenses only to Harlingen residents. And so I think that might be something that the board would want to consider as well.
The 4B,
The 4B, yes.
understood. Okay.
That whatever they fund would be limited to just to Harlingen residents.
For our board, we're not taking a vote on this tonight. This is just a first presentation to kind of educate us. they're gonna be doing their job to educate the mayor and the city commissioners on, and the city administration as well. And so it's just for us to get an understanding of what potentially the commissioners are interested in, the city staff, and what we would be willing to support. So any other questions?
I just think it's an excellent idea, for parents to be doing this. They can help their kids, and I know a lot of students that I work with, parents can't help them, so I think it's a great idea.
I agree.
One of the big things you can do as well is just, getting the word out. So like I said, your place of business, anything like that, like you can ask for posters from us or whatever, posters, QR code, if you know people.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Just a lot of times, word of mouth, stuff like that, just, letting people know, and so that kind of gets the word spreading around the. We have it on Facebook and things like that, but there's a lot of noise on Facebook, and there's
Yeah.
a lot of people like to look at, things with a lot of moving animals and stuff like that.
I think it's, thank you for, taking the time to share this with the board. I think it's important for them to have a good understanding of the project. It's a big undertaking and I love the idea. And that's why I like PSBC, that they get funded based on placement. It's kind of the same thing, they have completion and really motivate people along the way, giving the resources and support that they need, and we need to start changing the narrative of the Rio Grande Valley and not being known for these, statistics of not having a population about being educated and all these other things that we can change, and this is how we're able to do that.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, brother.
Yeah, I think you got a consensus from the board that
This is a great project.
we're, okay, appreciate your time. Thank you. Thank you, folks, for coming tonight. Appreciate it. So that was item number 3. We don't have a vote, as I mentioned, just based on the presentation. Let's go ahead and move on to item number 4, consideration and possible action to fund the park improvement projects for the city of Harlingen. And Dave, the city manager, is gonna.
What I'd like to point out is that for tonight, we are gonna ask for an action item on these projects, but it won't actually be to fund the actual project, but to start the funding process for the project. As you know, we're a 4B, so there are some requirements that we have to go through that the 4A does not. One is that we have to have a public hearing for the projects that we fund. We also have to have a notice in the paper for 60 days for comments. So whatever projects that the board decides they want to fund tonight, we'll have to start the process to get that. So the one action item that we are gonna ask for is that you tell us which projects you will choose to fund. And we do have some that are critical, that were projects that were selected for grant funding. One of them in particular, as we start the process for the presentation, is we did get $5 million in grants for various projects. And they required $2 million. They're all parks projects, by the way. And they required $2 million in that. So if we get $2 million from the board just for those, we'll get an extra 5 in grants, so we'll have a total of $7 million for those projects. And so we're gonna identify those in just a minute. But those are the ones that we absolutely are requesting that you consider. And then we're gonna have other projects as we go through the presentation. So just make a note of what it is that you'd like to fund, and then we can talk about it.
So this is an open conversation from the board to the
Yes.
city management, and everybody who works for Gabe comes together and then makes presentation. Hey, look, these are some options that we have. So our input is very important.
So Daniel's gonna start the process, and as he's going along, we're gonna just provide input. I think Commissioner Lopez may even provide some on one of the projects himself. But we'll stop throughout and answer any questions you may have. So if you have anything, just let us know. Danny, you wanna start?
Sure. Danny Diaz, Parks and Recreation Director. Those are the 5 grant awarded projects that Mr. Gonzalez was talking about right now. One is that the Phase 4 Aurora Colorado Hike and Bike Trail. The next one is the Harlingen North to South Trail Link. The City of Harlingen, the Stroll Planting. Harlingen Recreation Center, and the last one is Victor Park. So like I said, the total fund, the grant award funds were $5,000,001. And projected match needed is $2,070,000 with $275,000
And all these slides are in your handout, so you have,
Mhm.
That's a rendering of what could possibly look, but that's,
this is not the actual rec
It's not
center,
the
this is
actual,
just
yeah.
something that we came up with. It looks too, like I was telling Commissioner Lopez, it looks too institutionalized. And
I'm
we'd like-
assuming the pool would be behind that? Is that, this would be the entrance to the pool?
Well, the Pendleton Pool is on the right-hand side,
Okay.
yeah. This would be on the left side of the park. And on the left side of the tennis.
off of Grimes.
yeah.
As you-
So let me
So
give
an
a li-
additional center.
Yes,
Yes.
correct.
I think it was year one of this board, we purchased the piece of property that this, we
Would be
purchased that a
suitable.
long time ago, right? That-
I think that one was across the field. That's the one that was gonna be used for football, I believe.
Okay.
But we did buy some property with 4B money there.
So there is some history with the board investing in Pendleton Park, just wanna let you guys know.
Another picture here from a different angle. At Victor Park, it's a rendering here of what it's proposed, which is a new splash pad there. New basketball court, fencing around our championship field, new parking lot, some shaded structures there as well in the bottom, and some lighting for the sports field. The Arroyo Hike and Bike Trail, Phase 4, that's the proposed, design or, the way it needs to be
This shows the location of the actual trail.
trail
Yeah.
along the Arroyo.
You wanna go back to that slide real quick? Now, the section that we're looking at is the one that's outlined in, what is that, purple? Purple. Yeah,
Gabe, can I ask a quick question on that?
yes.
We had some storm damage recently, flooding that filled up the Arroyo. Was there any damage to any of the new sections? To me, driving by, it looks like everything's okay.
There are some areas that did have some damage.
Was it just cleanup or was there,
No, it was erosion. There's an erosion on some areas that we needed to address, and we're still addressing.
but city was able to do that?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So do you have the right of way for this trail?
This is IBWC, property, but they let us build on it, so, yeah. The only thing is that we can't build any structures, because the majority of this is just flat, it's trail, that they don't have an issue with that. And, we just have to have them approve the bridges where we cross the arroyo. That's really the only structural impediment that might be there to catch any debris that's going down the river when it floods.
This is the Harlingen North and South Trail Link, and as you can see, it'll tell you where, what the locations are from like Dixieland right of ways from Lincoln to Dixieland, the Via Vista Mall corridors from the mall to Victor Park, Longsy Hill irrigation corridors, Longsy Hill Park to Lamar Elementary, and the Victor Park corridor is Victor Park to Arroyo, Colorado. For our tree planting on our walking trails, we had been talking about adding shade along our trails, so we get this funding for it, plant all the trees on our trails. Now, these requests,
Can you just go back a little bit? So these are the projects that were all grant funded by various agencies. And so the ask is to have the match for all of these projects. And that total is $2 million. So that's what we're asking the board to actually, one, consider that amount in addition to anything else that you want to fund throughout the projects. Now, all these others that Danny's gonna proceed to at this point forward, the only one that has received a component of funds is the Casa del Sol. The city allocated $1 million from the hot tax for that project because it's historic preservation.
Yep.
And so that qualified for use of the hot tax. And we're gonna cover that in just a minute.
Gabe, I'm sorry. So that match, is that scoping and construction? Or is that the whole, and all these parks that you said that we've landed grants for?
Oh, yes, no, that's gonna be for, some of them don't require any, like this one, doesn't require any design. It's just for the match for the trees. So we decide where to plant them, but others like the Victor Park, that would include design and construction, yes.
Is it gonna be done in-house or is it gonna be contracted out?
The work?
Yes.
No, the work we're probably gonna have to contract out, yeah. The only one that we're probably gonna do in-house is the tree planting. The rec center would have to be bid out, cause that's construction. The Casa del Sol, we haven't done any of that, because if it's not part of this match, but if it does get funded, additionally, it involves, right now, we're doing asbestos removal, so we're not qualified to do that.
And Victor?
Victor's gonna be bid out also.
Okay.
We have to design that as well. The only one that, like I said, will not require any design work and will probably do in-house is the planning initiative.
For the tree planting, are you getting any volunteer work from the community?
I don't know, is that possible?
We can look into that.
So I know we got some students from UTRGV to do some of that stadium tree planting.
You know what we're gonna need volunteers for? Nothing to do with the 4B, but we wanna have a cleanup of the expressway, because that's a TxDOT maintained area, and they really, all they do is have it mowed, but when they have it mowed, they just come in and whatever's on the ground with trash, they just mow over it and shred it. So we wanna have it cleaned up, so we wanna ask for volunteers for that eventually, so.
I could put out an announcement on the
Can I
UTRGV.
get together with you so we can
Yes.
figure out how to get more?
Let us know too, so you have 250 boys.
Where's it?
There's lots of,
Oh, okay, oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, so. let us
Oh, that's
know.
volunteer opportunities, I'm sure.
Oh, they can, oh, and you know what? And they can be voluntold, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Voluntold, I like it.
Okay, awesome.
On the rec center, just so that y'all know, this, the match that's needed is gonna go towards the rec center, but the city's also looking at other sources of grants to try to get additional funding. So this won't be the end of it, but we are actively working on additional grant funding too.
So Pendleton was picked because of usage probably, the volume of people that are there every day?
The area that we had available for one, we had plenty of property available, that was the key. And so Pendleton had ample property that we could actually build it on. And so we owned it already, so we decided that would be good. Plus the proximity to other venues like the HEB Tennis Center is there, the Pendleton Pool is there. And so there's a trail there too around the park.
Yeah, there's a lot. I've been,
Yeah.
my son lifeguards there, so I see the amount of people that are there every day. It's
Yeah,
it's
so,
impressive.
and obviously the Veterans Memorial is there too, so.
Yeah.
We picked that for those reasons.
Okay.
In addition to the land that was available.
Land available, that's a key, yeah.
Gabe, are these projects, getting these grants, is it anything coming from federal money?
Yes, yes.
And this is where I'm coming with this. We've kind of run it through in our industry is when we start maybe some cost estimates and maybe a year or two old that when you use federal money, the new requirement is build America, buy America. And everything from lumber, the nails, the formwork, all has to be done here. And I just want to make sure that our cost estimates are accurate and reflecting that the BABA compliance. And there really is no other way to go around waivers, exemptions, they're just not existing anymore, at least on the federal side. Has that been considered?
For the most part, we haven't really designed anything yet to go out for bids.
I'm talking about more for the scoping, like
Yeah, that's-
the total cost, and we don't have to come back and ask for additional monies in
That's,
the future.
what we did was we kind of estimated what we would need based on just our internal estimates and came out with the numbers. We think that they're gonna be okay, because we've done some work on some of our parks already. And so like, Victor Park, that's a state grant from the Parks and Wildlife Department. And we think we're pretty confident about the dollar amount that we have. The only one that may have some variations in pricing may be the rec center, because some of those costs have gone up.
That's what's kind of getting with facilities, there's a lot of stuff in that. Is
Well,
that-
we had,
That's the Texas Parks and Wildlife, also, and so Anna worked really hard on that one. This one just opens up every, so many years, Anna said. Now she has another hat, but, so this is another state grant. So just to kind of answer the question, the amount of funding that we got from the Texas Parks and Wildlife isn't gonna be sufficient for the entire project. It just is gonna help significantly, and then of course with this match, it'll allow us to utilize that money to get that going.
And if this with state funds, it doesn't have to be on the BABA requirement, so that's
It's-
even better, yeah.
Yes, right.
and our total cost for that, I think is 6 million for the rec rec center. Go ahead.
These requests here are from the parks for 338,710. It's for maintenance and replacing some equipment in our parks. Recreation was 19,000. Our swimming pools, 264,200. And there's the Casa del Sol Historic Preservation for 2 million. And the grant awards for 2,072,75. And a one-time purchase of $290 for a park on Stewart Place, and Vestal Park improvements for $90,000, bringing the total fund by 4B, which before $982,185.
Now, that's the total asset we have presented, 4.9 million. The one that we absolutely are asking for you to consider is the 2 million for the grants. And then Danny's gonna go through some projects that he has. The ones that he's gonna cover are listed in order of priority. So that's what he's asking for you to consider first.
Yeah, priority number one is the one you've already received the grants, I mean, right?
Yes.
That's, okay.
So on those awarded grants, is there a percentage that you need to match? So usually it's like a 20% match or?
They, all of them, we're asking for the total match except for the rec center. The rec center, we got, I think, the max award, right? Is that what it was? Yeah, we got the maximum award from the parks, but the facility was about 6 million. So, roughly about 15% is what they granted us. We still need, we've got a grant in for the, from the Valley Baptist Legacy Foundation. And so we submitted the grant, and they did ask us to provide a full application. How much was that request for? 1.5 million. So hopefully they'll fund that. And then we're asking for another million or so from the 4B. That'll get us closer. And so, but obviously, if you want to fund the difference, that's, we'll take that too.
No, I just want to make sure that the money that you're asking here meets the requirement there.
It would for all of them except for the rec center. The rec center is gonna still have a deficit.
No, but I think what Sasha's asking is that this is so that way we can accept the grant, so that there's no
Right.
additional
Yes.
funds
Right.
being used. So
Yes.
yes, so the answer
Yes.
is on all of these, with this funding, we could accept the grant and have the match in place and move forward. And then hopefully ask for additional grant funding from other places. But the goal here is as you're accepting these grants, that the monies that are gonna be used for the match is coming out of the general fund, it's coming out of this board because it's a quality of life project and then it completes it, so then we're not utilizing any general fund taxpayer money to fund the projects.
And again, these are all for parks, every single one of them.
Let me, just for the benefit of the new board members, a lot of times you see big numbers like this and it's, whoa, it scares you. This is the authorization to pursue. We're not gonna vote tonight per se, but we're gonna give direction. And when you see a big number like, 4.9 million, that scares everybody. But it just really gives authorization to the city to pursue these projects. Now, these costs might take a year and a half to incur, potentially, as we do things, as the architecture, as the design, as the execution. And so, as a board, we know that we have, let's say, 180,000 coming in every month. We're probably gonna be about 15 to 20% about what we budgeted. So those are kind of things to keep in the back of your mind is this board isn't gonna cut a check for whether it's 2 million or 4 million. It's just giving authorization to the city to start the process. And that process, they'll cut checks as time passes. So potentially you might be spending 4 million, but you're spending it over the course of 2 years until project completion.
And that's a good example of what we did for the Lonte Hill Destination Park.
Correct.
We didn't undertake any debt, but we funded portions of it every year to get to where we are today.
Yeah.
And so that's
And to the compliment of the city, Gabe and the staff, they've come under budget on the majority of the projects. Because they're able to, as time passes, the Parks Department says, hey, we can do this, and it saves, so. Were you done with the presentation? I didn't know if you,
No,
No,
he's still going.
okay.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna bring up some slides
Okay,
here.
10-4.
Electrical services at Victor Park baseball fields, that's 92,000. As you can see, those cabinets, boxes there, they're in bad shape. The lights, they're out of date. We've been, actually, 2 of our fields right now, we're having to use light towers so the kids can play out there. So, we're in bad shape there. At our Wilson Sports Complex, the shaded structures for the bleachers, there on the blue cover there, the shaded, that's a sample of what we would expect to put there on at the sports complex there. That's 52,000. Park cameras for the Wilson Sports Complex, Victor Park, Harlingen Field, and Pendleton Park, that's 89,710. We have vandalism everywhere throughout our parks, and these cameras could be used out there. I believe that we could also have a PD involved at the same time, so they can.
Security.
Yes, exactly.
We would send a signal to dispatch,
Dispatch.
so they would have access to the cameras.
Do we have any cameras at all right now?
We have some at
Yes.
Luxio.
Okay.
And the reason we have to put them in is because the mobile book, vendor, it got vandalized a few times. And then the splash pad has gotten vandalized several times.
Install monument park signage at McKelvey Park, Windsor Park, and Gutierrez Park. That's 18,000 on the left there. You can see what's there existing right now, which I think is out of date. And the picture in the middle is what we have right now at the McJordan Trail and then a few other parks similar to that.
Victor?
Victor Park and Pendleton, I believe.
Yes.
11 solar light kits, poles for playgrounds, to 50,000. These would be installed in all of our smaller parks. The lighting is very poor. I know once it gets dark, you can't see the playgrounds there. The kids are having a hard time. So it's dangerous for them, so it should be a great improvement. Our Victor Park Tennis Center, tennis courts, replace the tennis court windscreen, $6,000. As you can see, the windscreens, there isn't any windscreens there on the third picture. Replace the nets, they're in horrible shape, 15,000. Repair the court surface, you can see the cracks on the top picture, 15,000. Repair the fencing for the ADA access on the last picture in the bottom. There's handicap parking spaces, but there's no ADA access to the actual courts. And our pools, replace the diving boards at Pendleton and Victor Pool, 135,000. As you can see, that one, we have 4 throughout our pools, and they're all out of service. They're in bad shape. Replace the AD lifts, we have 4, none of them are functioning right now. Good thing that we have the handicap ramps in the Pendleton and Victor, so that's what staff is using right now. Our boiler at Pendleton Pool, 50,000. That one's in bad shape as well. We're being to go back and fix every month. We gotta do something to it. So commercial pool pumps with service carts, 12,000. 3 ADA 46-inch round tables, 3,200. Victor Park shaded structure, 9,000. There's no shade at that park on the pool. Our Pendleton pool roof. This is a big one here. It's, as you can see daylight through the roof there. Our Tom Wilson Youth Complex, they've got replaced 4 scoreboards there for 19,000. That's currently what's out there right now. They're not functioning. They're not working. This is a proposed pocket park at the Stewart Place and Brenneman area next to the fire station. The city owns this land already, and that's the preliminary planning layout. Vesta Park ADA walkways with additional shaded structures, 90,000. We just completed that walking trail. It's got lights, it's got a basketball court, but we have no ADA walkways for wheelchairs to get to those fields.
And that trail we did in-house,
All that was done in-house.
and including the basketball court. You can see part of it on the left side of the screen.
Where's Vestal Park? I'm trying to,
Behind Savala Elementary,
okay,
over in the Orange Heights area.
okay.
If I may give you guys some additional details on this one. I've been working on this park since before even becoming the city commissioner, when I was on the Community Development Advisory Board. We've been using federal block grant money to do the improvements here. One of the pages earlier, talking about the trees, would be wanting to plant trees here, and the plan is to plant purple mountain laurel trees, so that when we have springtime, it's gonna be this big, beautiful purple bloom
Yeah.
that will give shade all along the pathway.
That's a decent amount of work right
Mhm.
there. Looks good.
Thank you.
And the one before that, the Stewart Place, pocket park, the goal with the commission, I'm not sure if y'all know, is to do these little pocket parks throughout the city. And so you'll start to see more of these, pop up in different areas around the town. And the goal is that everyone should have access to a park within walking distance from their home. So we want a green space near everybody at some point, and that's long-term vision. So the commissioners are kind of really looking at their districts to see where a pocket park could be built. And we're doing a lot of the work in-house with our staff. And so it's I think important for us to have these opportunities for neighborhoods to really have access. Some of them might not have. I know especially in Vestal Park, they're excited that they have that park. So a lot of people really truly, that's their only park.
Yeah.
And there's dangerous walks across the railroad tracks and things like this. This keeps kids safe. And over at District 5 on Stewart Place, there's the people that live in District 5, there's really not a green space for those neighborhoods, and that's where most of the development and new subdivisions are going. But you'll have Dixieland Park and Wilson. But really, there is no small neighborhood park for all of this new subdivisions that are coming up across that big expressway there on Stewart Place. And so I think this is a great location for one, and it also helps that the fire department is like right next door to it. So I think it lends itself for it to be there, and it'll be close to Stewart Place and all of those new subdivisions that are coming in.
The mayor and Commissioner Perez started this initiative that the rest of the commission supported, that when new subdivisions come in, the developer would set aside money for parks in those new subdivisions. District 5 on the west side actually has the least amount of park space compared to all the districts. And so what we've been doing is we've been dividing, we essentially broke the city up into 4 or 5 different like geographical parks. And so any development that pops up there, that money goes into that kitty that these commissioners can apply to. District 2, my district, has the first pocket park coming up and should be online in the next week or two.
Yes, sir.
And the way we've been identifying land is we have the city, as you can imagine, has a bunch of land that we've collected over the last 100 years that we've been around, 150 years or whatever, that we've been around. So we're using the land that we already own to beautify the city.
The next one we got here is the adaptive multi-use athletic field, the Clancy Hill Park that Mr. Gonzalez was talking about earlier.
We're not asking you to fund this one today, we're just kind of asking you just to make sure that this, because we have to revise that dollar amount probably. And so what we're asking you to do, just consider that we still have that initiative into the funding mechanism for Lonzie Hill Park. And just to remind the board, this was gonna be used for special needs students that are blind to play baseball. So the balls that they would use would beep, and so when they hit the ball, they would, and so would the bases, so they'd know where to go to actually get to their base. And the only other thing about this type of field is that the parents, whenever there's a hit or anything, they can't clap, they can't make any noise because the players have to be able to listen for the beeping sound of the ball and the bases. And then all this is artificial turf. Yeah, so it would be a first-class facility. We just need to revise our figures on the population that would use this park.
That's what came up the last time, I think.
Yeah,
When the
because
cost, I wanna say after COVID, it doubled, didn't it?
Oh, yeah, it did, because that's what would happen with Tony Butler. Our costs before COVID were 3 million to do everything. After COVID, we went out for bids during COVID and the bids came up so high. So we had to readjust the entire plan for that. And so we haven't done that with this park, but we're pretty sure that's the case with this one.
What Gabe's talking about is when this project came up maybe 3 years ago, the board had some questions as to, wow, that's a lot of money for a baseball field, and what would be the use? What can the city go and ask the school district and, you know, how many people would actually use it, or would it just sit empty? So that's kind of what he's mentioning right now.
With these big, large projects, I know the city's very ambitious to go after these parks. Has other entities, other nonprofit entities been reached out to see if they wanna participate in a cost sharing or a joint venture on any of these types of projects?
The only one really is Valley Baptist Legacy Foundation.
Boys and Girls Club, any of those organizations feel that they wanna participate?
I don't recall if the school district helped us. I think they did with the all-inclusive playground equipment. We were the first city to have those. We had 3 installed in our parks. And I think they may have helped us with part of that because they initially used that as a curriculum, so they would take kids out to use them. Because you can actually get them on some of the apparatus if you're in a wheelchair and just use it. And so, but I think that may be the only one that we've reached out to.
Cause now, I know the special needs is a very big, I agree with 100%, but the same thing with the cost, you know, if there's a way to share it with other partnering neighbors, you know, and it's a win-win-win, you know, for everybody.
No, I totally agree.
That could be looked into, I don't know.
Casa del Sol, this is where they were working on the asbestos. That's that crack on the roof there, the ceiling.
And it's not just one, it's a few that happened.
That happened, yes.
And this is a cost estimate from John Piercy. He donated his work to come up with these numbers. And the total cost for the renovation was 2.7 million. Like I said, the commission's already allocated $1 million for this from the hot tax. And so the difference would be to about approximately 2 million that we would need.
So what we're looking at on this one is we're going to the Texas Historic Commission. They have preservation tax credits that stack on top of a federal tax credit. So the feds will give you a 20% tax credit if you restore a property to the Department of the Interior's standards, rehabilitation standards. And then on top of that, the state of Texas has a 25% one. It goes to all hard and soft costs, such as the renovation, legal, design, architecture, all that stuff. And so what is a tax credit? I'm used to them just giving us a grant, right? That's more straightforward. A tax credit is we get combined 45% back of our costs that we put into it. And then what happens is people then turn around and buy those tax credits. And so on a $3 million tax, on a $3 million bill, we can potentially get up to, I think it was like 1.3 million. And based on what the Texas Historic Commission is telling us, they're seeing that people are buying those tax credits at 95 cents per the dollar. So then that would bring us to a maximum of, would potentially be returned to you of 1.282500, million dollars back to you guys. And so that's the goal here. We've been working on a multi-pronged attack to beautify our city. You guys are seeing part of it with the parks. Another part of it is we're working on a historic ordinance to present to the city. As you guys saw yesterday, the city commission meeting, we went for the Texas music-friendly designation. We've also have done and invested in, we got a $300,000 grant from the Texas General Land Office for a comprehensive plan, which you guys probably saw. That was about 9 to 10 months ago. The city commission added on top of that a downtown master plan and a parks master plan, all in the effort to expand our grant opportunities, not only for the city, but for property and business owners as well. And so this is just part of that. We've been, to your point, or to Marcus's point, we've been going to a bunch of different boards to get funding for all these different projects. So we got $1 million for the Texas, for the hot tax. We went to the Keep Arlington Beautiful for another a number of beautification projects throughout the town. We've been going to the Community Development Board for money for these projects. And so we're trying to maximize, and we didn't want any one bucket of money or pot of gold to take a massive hit. So we've been trying to spread it around and really leverage city taxpayer dollars.
And I'll say, you guys might be thinking, well, what are y'all buying? Because we're coming to, you and giving you all these projects, but the focus, I encourage everybody to look at the budget workshops that we have right now. Our main focus in the city is drainage, and so all of the monies that we have that are available to us are going towards the drainage crew, getting equipment, additional staff to do the work, and those types of projects. So that's been priority number one. And so unfortunately, we don't have lots of additional disposable funds within we're trying to stay within a certain budget to continue to have the ratings and the great work that finance has done to keep us in good financial health, which the city has been in for decades, and we don't want that to, discontinue because we're not, being responsible with those monies. But so we're making these one-time purchases that are really hitting us hard on equipment for drainage and for, the future of Arlington. And so, but at the same time, we don't want to stop on these projects in parks that are important for the community. As we get people moving into the city of Arlington, they want nice things. They want to be able to go to the park. They want to be able to enjoy, things in our community. And we want to bring people from outside of our community to come to Arlington. So that's what this is about. And hopefully, we've spent quite a bit of money over the last few years with drainage. And we're getting to the point where I think that we're good. Maybe next year there'll be some more money that has to be allocated. And then we'll be, I think, in a really good, solid position to just, get as aggressive as we can with it. And then we can start looking at how we can participate a little bit more in these other types of quality of life projects.
And on that front, we've been working with the different drainage organizations or drainage entities. In fact, on my way over here, I got very positive news, which we'll be breaking soon with you guys, on a massive grant that Drainage District number 5 just got. Huh? Oh, yeah, which is fantastic because it'll improve the North Main drain where we last bumped into each other during the
All about
floods.
that place, yeah.
And so we are going full steam ahead. I think we just spent, what, $1.8 million this year, or this, we have budgeted just for drainage equipment.
So do you know when they will be helping us out on Van Buren, West Van? Cause
Yes.
we've had 3 floods of our building, and we had a major flood
Correct.
lately. And so we're just wondering when it's gonna be our turn as far as helping us out in that area.
Next month,
Next month.
depending on what part of Van Buren you're on. So we.
West.
West? Yeah, well, we're working on that one. We're looking at the Commerce Street project. We just have a project we're gonna start, I believe, next month, which is the 5th and 7th Street drainage project, which will be helping East Van Buren, and we're working our way to you. West Van Buren, I'm actually the district commissioner for that area, and I actually have a project list that if you like after this meeting, you and I can go over so we can go and I can walk you through all the drainage projects we're doing for just 2025.
I have a question. I guess I just finally understanding what's going on. I know it's to you, Mr. Chairman, or to Gabe. So the money that's earmarked to this board can go outside of these projects that are listed here and be put into infrastructure for the city?
Well, right now, we're not asking for you to do that. We're only asking you to fund park projects.
Okay.
But some of them might be able to, you can do other things besides parks. But in the past, we haven't asked you to do that. We've asked you to limit it to parks because we have another organization that does economic development, that can do some infrastructure. We also have TIF boards that can use their funding for, like we did on Grimes. Grimes is being done in a cooperation with the city and the county. And so we paid for the materials. The county is using their equipment, their manpower to do that road because we're using those funds. So we've used different pots of money for different things. But for this particular board in the past, we've only stuck to park projects.
Just going back to the tax credit, is that a state or is that a federal?
State and federal. If you go to the Texas Historic Commission, it's called the Rehabilitation Tax Credit. That's where it does the breakdown. State of Texas gives you 25%, the feds go to, state of Texas 25, feds go to 20, so it's a total of 45%.
Does that survive the last PB?
Yeah, well, we were just at the conference, Real Places Conference in Austin.
Yeah.
About a month and a half ago, and that's where we got that information.
It has so far, but
Correct.
the year's still young, so.
So Gabe, if there was any priority, I'm sure there's prioritization of the projects that need to go out. If there was something, I guess, that was least prioritized that could be reallocated to maybe the infrastructure of the city, what would you see on this list that could possibly, not be reallocated to a different fund? Is there certain projects that are not as priority or? what do you recommend or?
Well, right now I haven't been given the authorization to actually come in and tell you guys what we can move out. I think the commission, what they wanted me to do is tell you what we need for parks. So that's what I'm prepared to do today. If we wanna use money for other projects, I'd have to go back to the commission and say, okay, what parks do you wanna try to, what infrastructure projects do you wanna try to prioritize with these funds? We haven't asked them that, so I don't have an answer to give you.
So let me share my opinion, and then we'll all have maybe different opinions. The city's looking for a little bit of direction on a big list, total of, a lot. And my first gut tells me that the number one priority for this board would be to get that grant money. There's $5 million available. If we spend 2, we get a total of 7. That's priority number 1 in my head. Number 2, and maybe I'm biased because I have a boy that's a lifeguard for the city. When I look at the pools, I've been to every one of them with my son and they need help. And it's summertime and boy, but if we can cut them loose on fixing those pools, that would be, in my head, priority number 2. Priority number 3, parks. They're asking for, and I'll put numbers out there. They're looking for $2,070,275 for maybe the grants, priority number 1. The pools are looking for $264,200. I would deem number 3 from this board, maybe potentially parks. They're looking at $338,710. That includes, the camera, all those things there. And then I'm looking at, I wrote down rec for $19,000. I don't remember where that was, but so in my head, maybe not prioritizing Casa de Sol for $2 million. Maybe that's something the city could maybe do a little bit more work on before they get more serious coming to this board. And then maybe the Pendleton, I don't think you even put a price on it, right? That was just kind of a, look forward, this is something we want. I didn't see a price for the Pendleton Park Rec Center.
No, that's in the grant. That's in the grant request for
It's
2
in the
million.
grant.
Yeah, that's one of the grants that received, one of the parks that received grant funding.
Okay.
So we're asking for that $2 million.
Oh,
That'll cover part of that.
they would get one, you get
Yeah.
1.5 from them. Okay,
Yes.
all right.
Yes.
And so I guess let's discuss, because that, I just wrote down what I thought the priority as a taxpayer, as a 4B member, and answering to a city commissioner to cut the city loose. Priority number 1, let's get that grant money. That's
I
money.
do agree, if they need the monies to be able to get that, we're basically stopping them from getting that grant, and that's,
And
those
so-
grant monies.
So I gave my opinion, and how the process would work is that once the city gets kind of a direction, what Gabe's asking for tonight, not a vote, just direction, he would then go and say, okay, these are the 5 things or the 4 things that the 4B board says, let's get at it. And he puts an ad in the paper for the public, he posts,
Start the process to.
he starts a process where then we would vote. Let's say the next meeting in 2 months, a month, whenever. And so that's kind of what he's looking for, a little direction
And
tonight.
then what I would do in the interim is we have a budget workshop the last Monday of this month, so I would report back to the commission as a body what the 4B give us authorization to actually proceed forward with, just so they would know.
And so we do have commission representation here tonight, mayor representation, so I guess the message would be, Gabe would then feed to them, hey, look, we can knock off this, and this with the 4B. They're a little hesitant on the Casa de Sol right now. And those are the messages that, if you guys, we can talk about opinions and share those with each other.
So I agree on the grant, I mean, that's a no-brainer.
Free money.
On the Casa del Sol, I would say with the, tax rebate, I mean, why leave that on the table? So I would go after that too, because that's 40%. And then they can potentially use that 2 million for other infrastructure that doesn't have restrictions on that funds, because we already provided you with the 2 million and you can use that for infrastructure or whatever else you want.
So you're suggesting $1 million for the Casa del Sol, is that what you said?
So, I mean, you have a $2 million here, so I mean, we could, what is it that you're asking? Is that the 1 million for this?
No, the commission asked me to ask you for $2 million.
Correct,
The Casa del Sol.
$1.2 million, which would essentially come right back to you guys. That's what I'm gonna advocate on the city commission side, because you guys gave that initial investment. I would want that money personally to come back to you guys to then fund your other projects going on,
Right.
right? And again, it's an up to 1 point, whatever the number I read to you earlier. And so what we're gonna be doing, as you guys may or may not know, is I'm an attorney for Cameron County, I'm the litigation attorney. My joke is that by the time you see me in a meeting, everything's gone bad, right? And so part of this is hiring and.
Except me.
Yeah, no, at a county meeting, if I show up at a county meeting, right, things have gone bad, I love business there, is to bring in a consultant to help walk us through that tax abatement process. Cause the last thing I wanna do is for us to make an innocent mistake that cost us, $100,000, $500,000 or whatnot. And so we've already been talking to Robert about bringing the consultant on board. And then, I don't know if I told you guys this, but I may have left it out, but John Piercy of Megamorphosis has been pro bono, been acting as our consultant through this. It's one of the projects he first brought to me, and then coincidentally, I think the next week, we had to shut it down. So right now, Casa del Sol is permanently shut down because of roofing issues. And the reason we have those roofing issues is because people did not maintain that building. It was created in 1961, and it has a thing, I always called it like a sombrero, if you look at the roof, but they called it, it's supposed to be mimicked after a flocorico dress, right? And so they have holes in them, and that was the way you're supposed to drain them. Well, someone had the bright idea at one point to fill those holes, right? And so now you have sitting water in that roof. Now you have a lot of deterioration. Something else, just so you know, big picture wise, there, if you know where Casa del Sol is, right next to it's the Arlington Community Center. Right behind the Arlington Community Center, we're putting in brand new pickleball courts. Behind there was a building that we're gonna be turning into a potential, like a pro shop type of mindset, and a park right behind there. So it's a multifaceted approach to fixing up this area as well as the downtown area at large.
So many people used Casa del Sol whenever it was operational.
I do not have that information, but as I was told by staff, it was pretty much booked, very,
It's pretty.
very, it was booked all the time.
And the reason for that is because it's inexpensive to use. You're not prohibited from bringing in your own food. Whereas if you rent the Harlingen Convention Center, which is also our building, but we have a management company, it takes $8,000 just to rent that entire facility. Plus you can't bring in your own food, you have to get it from them. So it's, not everybody that uses the Casa del Sol can use the Convention Center.
And it's a beautiful backstory. I always took Casa del Sol for granted. I'm born and raised in Harlingen. But Casa del Sol was actually designed by a very famous architect by the name of Alan Taniguchi. Alan Taniguchi came from the Bay Area in California. During World War II, was sent to an internment camp. And then he became a designer, a famous architect on the West Coast. His dad actually came down to live in Bluetown. I didn't know that there was a Japanese community here, and that's what he helped started to design. He won awards for houses he designed in Laurel Park, which we now call Parkwood. The guy would end up being the Dean of Architecture at University of Texas and the Dean of Architecture at Rice University. There's a lot of history in that building. That's why we're going the historic preservation route. And that's why we're doing the historic preservation ordinance, to also get more money to expand and bolster these efforts.
And so the consultant you're gonna bring about, is it like an architect, is it a tax attorney,
So there's two routes, right? So when we went to the conference, you have tax attorneys that specialize in this, and then you have historic preservation companies that work with the Texas Historic Commission to do the preservation paperwork to make sure that we're in compliance. To see them more as like a compliance consultant to make sure that we follow all the steps to maximize that.
and is there a ballpark with that kind of study or fee that they would do that? And maybe, like, my only concern with the Casa del Sol is, anything with renovation is, you don't know what you're getting yourself into till you start ripping down walls. And all I can say is, doing the planning for it is probably a great way to see what the city situation is, what the type of infrastructure is. Are we looking at asbestos, are we looking at mold, are we looking at lead paint? Those are the things that can balloon costs. And I did kind of look over that cost estimate, and it has it looks fine, there's nothing wrong with it, but there is a hazard material line item that I think might be a little low or could balloon that. And what I'm saying is there a way to go, maybe earmark the money for the planning, for the consultant, to go and figure out, a full scheme of what this is gonna be, and even if they can land those federal tax dollars, because we all know, working with the federal government sounds good on paper, So actually, when you start getting the pen, you start pushing these documents, and the little things that can happen, and I agree, working with a compliance consultant is really a great idea. But before the city jumps into the whole hurdle that, can we do a study before, can a study be done and fund that? And then based on the outcomes of the study, maybe the cost estimate goes less, we don't know, Is that something that can be considered, or?
That's what we're actually in the process of doing right now. I believe, speaking to Ruth with Public Works, we should be getting our initial numbers. I believe at this upcoming meeting is what she told us last time. We'll be talking, that initial $1 million that we pulled from the hot tax, that's what's going to kind of do all the background, the design aspect of it. So by the time the 2 million comes in, that would be doing for the construction aspect of it.
I guess, at what point does the consultant, or I guess, at what point do you have to not invest in actual construction? You're finalizing, dotting your Ts with the federal government, with the state, the THC, the Texas Historical Commission is a very finicky organization. I've worked with them before, very tough, and, but what I'm saying is, before we commit, is there ways that we could get assurances that all those tax incentives will be basically checkmarked and green lighted before this board kind of invests fully, or how does that work?
Correct. As discussed and as Gabe, we talked about at the city commission meeting, is that before any of the 4B monies is actually spent, we already have to have all that information in hand, right? And so we're gonna have to come back to you and to the commission to then spend that money, or we can then, what's called, decommit the money, and it would go straight in your account. The other aspect of this is because it has to be, state of Texas, you can do where a government takes the lead, right, where the property is owned by state of Texas, municipality, a county or whatnot. But on the federal aspect of it, it cannot be done, it has to be done through a nonprofit. So what we talked to Mark already, and we've already talked to Alan Ozuna, who's the EDC attorney, is that what we may be doing to get to that additional, what we have to do to get to that additional 20% is lease it to you guys, right? And then you guys would have complete control. So what I wanna do is, my fear is your fear, right? Is I wanna make sure that we don't spend any money unnecessarily. And so by keeping tight reins on it, by coming back to you guys, by coming back to the city commission, that's how we're gonna do it.
And how quickly, see, I'm a little novice at this, how quickly is this 4B funds that can go into infrastructure, how long does that take? Like, do we can actually see those funds actually get put to, turning to digging equipment?
What kind of infrastructure funds were you looking to?
Oh, well, we're talking about, like, I guess drainage was brought up, if we reallocate the funds from here, how quickly does the city have access to go and, and start doing POs and work orders?
The city commission would have to authorize me to come in and ask you guys for funding for infrastructure.
No, I'm saying theoretically, if we did that today, we authorize, say, we green light it 60 days, and then the city could use that to go start doing improvements in the city, with no restrictions?
No, there's restrictions. You'd have to have, either, if you want a private contractor to do the work, you'd have to have plans, and then you have to go out for bids.
Right.
If we do the work in-house, like we're doing a lot of it now, we can just start working and charging.
And the reason why I say it is because we've had one really bad rain event here in Harlingen, and then one really bad event during the 4th of July, and it seems like we're being lectured by nature, saying, it's not if, it's when, so, that's why I kind of say, how quickly can these funds be redirected to the city to be used?
And that's why we created the drainage crew. We spent over 1.8 million for the equipment.
Just this time, because we already had an initial drainage crew.
Yeah.
We started 2 years ago,
Well,
which
2
we
years
used
ago,
ARPA money
when
to
we-
fund all the
Yeah,
equipment.
when we did that. Now, we didn't use ARPA money for the payroll, the
No.
staff. We actually used general fund money.
Correct.
And that was about $600,000 in labor costs alone that we have to pay every year because those people on board. And then this year, we added a second crew. So we bought another, about $800,000 in equipment, and we're gonna spend about another $300,000 in personnel costs to fund that second crew. So, I mean, we're already spending a lot on drainage already.
So would Public Works have could they use that money immediately? Is it
No,
needed?
we have to go through a process. It takes, first of all, the commission has to say, okay, yeah, go ask the 4B for this money.
Right.
You guys have to approve it, and then, we have to have a public hearing and a notice published in the paper for 60 days, because this is 4B. after that period, then we could start spending money.
90
So
days.
it's, yeah, 90 days maybe.
Okay, that's all I'm asking, you know,
Yeah,
we
that-
go over that, how quickly would it?
Yeah, it's about 90 days.
Okay.
So just to kind of talk a little bit about Drainage, we have a ton of grants out there, not just we couldn't do it alone, even if every, all of the money was allocated to the city, we still wouldn't have enough. So we do have about, is it $60 million or so pending?
Yeah, it is.
So it's a big venture, but we're not, we have the ending grant, right, so we're planning for all things that we, everything that we can, we've already gotten about $22 million in grants, so we're working really hard. I think you have to really tell yourself when you're going through this, and this is just my view of it, right, this is hard, sit in your seat and say, well, how do we prioritize what's important? This time around, we don't have any money, we're actually spending more money than I think we've had in the past. And so, I've been talking to Gabe about our budget and working with Robert, we're trying to do a lot of things in the city. And so these projects, like parks projects, and I'm glad that, y'all are saying grants, that's a no-brainer, because I think everybody wants, free money, right? And so if we're getting it, a substantial amount, they're asking for small amounts, it makes sense, and I think it's a good quality of life, these are good quality of life projects. Now, all of the little, not little, because they've got big price tags, but all of the requests of park and recreation and things that Dan put together, the reality is, if this board doesn't fund it, then it won't get funded this year because we don't have any more money left in the budget to allocate to these things. So when you're going through them, you probably need to say, hey, well, you know what, I can do without the solar lights, or, and I think you did perfectly, you were saying, the swimming pool are important to me, and I've seen them, and, I agree with the swimming pools, because we've got like Ironman people that are training in our pools, and then you have those that are learning how to swim, like, it is a real, gem that we have, but it's unfortunate, because you go into these, I'm sure Danny's experiencing it, you're thinking, gosh, this is gonna be really beautiful, but we need the funds, but we can't responsibly take funds out of the general fund when we have, like Marcus says, these pressing issues. So we've kind of put these aside, and unfortunately, these will go on to the next year and won't get funded, because we have been aggressively going after grants. And the thing with grants is that they take forever, and so we got that Victor Park grant like a year and a half ago, I think, and so 2 years, and now we're getting it, and so that's gonna really beautify that space. But so that's what I would do, look at these, electrical services at the baseball fields. Do you want to live in a community where the parks are beautiful? If you do, then I think that this gets us there, or not, it gets us a lot closer to being there. And those pocket parks, Vestal Park, I will tell you that Daniel's been working really hard in his area, because it is an underserved population within our community, and they really are benefiting from this space, and there's always people there. It's beautiful, and it was not like that before. And so it's a space where you can take your family and enjoy, and it's free, right? You can walk to the park and have a good time. And Stewart Place, with lots of people are coming and moving into the city, and that side of the west side is growing, so we wanna make sure that we've got green spaces there. So I think that's, if you don't fund them, then they'll be, it'll come back next year, I'm sure, and Danny won't be real happy about it, but will we be okay? Yes, but will we be without these certain things? Yes. So that, I don't know if that helps.
Let me ask it a different way. So if we tell you not to prioritize, I'm having a problem with the Cosette de Sol $2 million, me personally. And maybe I'm the only one. If we came back and said, we're happy with everything else, 4.982185 minus 2 million, we're fine with everything else, Gabe, please prioritize. What actions would you take to try to, would it be like the mayor said, hey, it's blown off till next year? Or would there be other avenues besides the 4B board to go after?
For the Casa del Sol,
Correct, that's specific 2 million ask.
well, we sort of had this discussion at the council meeting because I told them that we had 1 million from HUD, that I needed to get at least 1 million from you,
Okay,
to help, but then they said, look, just ask them for the 2 million.
okay.
So we said.
I
"Well,"
heard you, but I just wanted to double check.
Yeah,
Okay,
and so they authorized me to come in, that's why it's on the application,
okay,
to ask for the 2 million from this board. If we don't get any of it, well, we have to go back and figure out what other avenues we have, because there aren't very many places you can go and apply for a grant for historic preservation, for a facility like that.
The Texas Historic Commission, we had a woman come do a presentation to us with it's called Certified Local Governments, it's a CLG designation. The max grant that they give us, I think it's also through the federal government, is 500,000, right? But
so the path isn't very solid. You would potentially have a path, but it wouldn't be very solid, right? Is that
And that building is used by a lot of people that can't afford to go to a
understood?
bigger, fancier place. I told, and so, it's shut down, like the commissioner said, nobody can use it, and it was used a lot for quinceañeras, for, smaller weddings. And so right now, they don't have that venue available to them.
So let me change my opinion as just conversation. This board hasn't met since September because there's been, let's just say, nothing going on other than finishing up what we already had on the books. It might not be a big of an ask, knowing that our budget's about 2.1 a year, which 600 goes to the convention center. It's just, and if this 4.9 takes 2 years to spend with the money we have in the bank, because Robert gave us a report, we do have cash. We're not taking out a bond, we're not taking out a loan. These are projects I think we all can touch, each individual one. So I think I'm, my opinion changed a little bit on the Casa de Sol. And so just for all of us to take into consideration, we might want to consider funding it all, knowing it's gonna take time, knowing we have money in the bank, knowing we're exceeding our budget for the year, and knowing that I think there's probably nothing on here that not one of us hasn't done something to. I've been to the Casa de Sol a bunch of times, so I changed my opinion a little bit, and let's discuss, let's talk.
I think that kind of changed mine too. If the avenues to get other funds for that project are minimal, then I mean, obviously you're coming to us for a reason, right? So
Let me do one other thing. When we authorize a certain amount of money, that doesn't guarantee 100% they're gonna spend it. Now, a grant might come in 9 months from now for 300 grand, let's just say. We've seen that with the hike and bike trail, where we authorized money and it didn't get spent, so there is that
The amphitheater is a good
opportunity.
example. We had about 2 million for the amphitheater, and we
did away with.
So
cut it
from a
out.
historical, to give kind of why that opinion was formed, there's some history there that they're not gonna stop doing what they do, the commission and, so let's keep talking.
If we don't, say the 2 million doesn't go, does the city lose money? Has the city invested in the Casa del Sol
Yes,
already?
we have, we've done, the pictures you saw,
Uh-huh.
that was the asbestos removal that already got completed. That was about 120,000 that we already spent. So at a minimum, we need to get it back to usability. It's not there now. I don't know that the money we have allocated for that right now will get us there. But at least we need to be able to open it back up to the public for them to use, because right now they don't have that venue.
So how much is that money to get it back open?
We haven't hired a consultant to come in and do a deep dive, like an architect or an engineer to do that yet. We were focused, because right now they can't go in because it was flagged for asbestos. So the minute we found out that it had asbestos, we kept everybody out. And so you saw the people that were in there, some of them had hazmat suits because that's just a requirement. So,
So can we finish that study and then come back for,
can we what?
can we finish that study and then come back and,
Well, we need money to hire
Alright.
an architect and then come in and tell us, okay, this is what it's gonna take to actually, because like the commissioner mentioned, we need to fix the drains that got plugged up on the roof. so that when it rains, the water goes out, it doesn't stay there, because if it continues to stay there, it's,
It'll do it again. It'll
yeah,
mess up.
it's probably gonna have to get demoed if we don't do anything with it.
So what's the cost that you all need for at least scoping and planning, not construction, for that way it keeps the project alive, it keeps it, and then just a suggestion, maybe put this on a reprioritize for next year, get all the dots and Ts squared away, and then try to fund it, next year. Is that risky, or you see any issues with that?
My concern on something like that is that we've been seeing massive inflation, and I'll give you a perfect example. Last year, they came to us for 2 fire trucks. I forget what type of fire truck, the big beautiful red fire trucks, $800,000. 1 year, it went, each of those fire trucks went from 800,000 to 1.2 million in 1 year. And this is two things, you have the deterioration of the actual facility, and then you have the inflation on top of that, right? And so I get, and I appreciate it. So what we can do, and the great thing about this is that there is still a waiting period between the moment of you, like the chairman said, you give us direction, proceed forward down this, we still have to do the 60 days, we still have to, and we're, in those 60 days, we'll come back to you with the additional information. So we keep you looped in every step of the way. In my mind, and if you guys want, whether it's Sergio or you, Marcus, why don't you come and be a part of every meeting we have with the consultant, every meeting, and loop you in on every conversation we have with the engineer, so that you are kept in the loop. We can come and do the presentation, send you guys that information. Because at the end of the day, although Casa del Sol is in District 2, it is a citywide facility, right? That's,
I'm so sorry, Daniel. I just think that, is that the only revenue source that we can go after for the Casa del Sol? Are there other, is there even, forgive me for saying this, could that building be sold and get to a private-public partnership and use that? Have those considerations been bought? Because it's tough for a city to maintain a building that old, and they're gonna invest all that money, but perhaps a private partner may help and alleviate those costs and may add some other avenue to it, Has any of those ideas been considered? Put it for sale and see what we get,
you are that private partner. You are a nonprofit, that's the way the 4B set up. You are that private
No, I
partner.
understand that, but what I'm saying is, would the city even consider selling it to a private entity? Has that even ever been considered,
No, we haven't, that hasn't been an option. The option was to restore it back to its original historical, glory, I guess, for lack of a better word. But that's been the intent, because again, it had been used by the public for family events, graduation events. We've had veterans groups use the community center. I don't think they ever used the Casa del Sol, but it's been our goal to actually restore it back and get it out to the public. So if we do that with a private vendor, the first thing that's gonna happen is they're gonna raise the rates because they wanna recoup some of the expenses. And so then the people that used it before aren't gonna be able to use it now.
And we have been looking, to answer the first part of your question, I have been looking for alternative grant opportunities. I have yet to find any, other than, like I told you, at 500,000 through the Department of Interior.
What else, guys?
They're all important. I think park.
Let me question our board in this way. Does anybody have an issue with us giving direction to the city that we're willing to back their total ask? And then, and if the answer is, well, maybe no, which one, and then we can talk about.
Whatever happened to that completion? Is that study coming back in
Well,
60 days
no,
and getting the
just-
findings of that
Well,
study?
the total ask from the city is that, the 4.982 down at the very bottom. That's for everything that's been presented to us. And I guess, does anybody have an issue with the total ask?
I do not.
I still do with the
If it's
Casa del
over
Sol.
time.
I still
Okay.
do. I'd like to.
Let's focus on that. Is it only that you have the concern on?
It's just, I like more information before you
Okay.
commit to something like that, and that's all it is,
So the other ones, the other things,
Oh, no, other ones I feel are priority,
does anybody share that opinion? Does anybody have let me say it a different way. Is there any of the other projects anybody has an issue with?
No.
I'm getting,
Not on the other ones.
it sounds
just-
like everybody's, we're all in agreement.
Just on the Casa del Sol, just
Okay, so
more
we have a
details
couple
on that
people,
one.
and I was one of them. I shared that opinion as well, so
And I
let's.
like the tax rebates and let's go for it if we get that guaranteed, but there's no guarantee for that, right? So,
And that's why the importance of the consultant is so high in my mind, because that is the best way we can get that 1.2 million to up to that 1.2, whatever, to you guys, right?
But what I would, then, if you're not gonna be able to fund the whole amount for now, maybe you can just fund $500,000 so that we can get the consultant on board from the 4B monies,
Okay,
and then go through that process and then give you back some,
so that process would go to the commission, go to the 60-day.
right, and then you'd also have to have a budget amendment.
Now, remember, we're not voting today. This is kind of a meeting.
You're
We
not-
would
you're not-
vote on whatever amount we agreed to, right?
Yeah, you're voting just to give the staff the authorization to proceed with the legal requirements.
Okay,
But there won't be any money that can be spent until you have the budget adjustments, and then you create the actual budget for that,
okay.
and then we go to the commission, and then they approve it too. So there's still a process that has to be,
So that might be a way around your concern.
that's at least 60 days,
And
maybe
that-
90.
And that other 1.5 million, can that already be start the process of reallocating that? or-
No, I need commission approval to do that.
So if you reallocate that $1.5 million and it comes back that the money is gonna be that $3 million and everyone is comfortable and you've reallocated it, then we're dead in the water.
City doesn't have the funds to come back
But,
and fund.
but you would have a lot more information on,
Correct. That's what I'm saying
I
is.
guess, detail levels that would make maybe 2 or 3 board members a little more comfortable? Is that?
Correct, right. I just say, I caution against reallocating it, right? I would say mentally earmark that 1.5, right? And worst case scenario is we mentally unearmark that money. Right, until we, and I think y'all's concerns are valid and I have the same, right? I think once we can narrow that down, but if we've already spent that 1.5 for something else, then what are we gonna do with it, right? Like, we're done.
We've got a lot happening right now with infrastructure, and especially at the start of the fiscal year, because we're gonna start a drainage crew. And so we still have time to actually look at that request maybe next year or sometime to see, because right now we're gonna be doing a lot of work in-house. And so, and we may need some of that money for maybe some of the grants that got approved, because we've got over 60 million in grant requests for infrastructure. And so we'll need matching funds for that too. So,
So they can do that with this board, for the drainage grants, they can match them here?
they can, but they're gonna require city commission approval.
I know, but my question is
Yes.
if they can,
You can do whatever the 4A can do,
which, that's one of the things that they can do.
they can. Now theirs has gotta be tied to job creation. So,
No, this board.
but ours doesn't, so, we just have to be careful how we do that, because the board was originally created for park projects, and I need to look at the initial ordinance. You can do it, I don't know if we've been authorized to do that, I need to go back and check the ordinance.
I think you need to look, because I think we've had this conversation in the past before in regards to drainage, and I'm 1,000% in favor of anyone wanting to give money, for drainage, but I think that I remember looking at this board and having, there were some issues with the ordinance, so we might need to take a look at that to see what the intent was when this board, was created, and if you can, and I would imagine that can be changed, so that way.
But you'd have to go back to the voters
I know.
to do that.
So the important thing is that we need to know before, because this would change the, historically speaking, it's been parks
For
and
parks,
these types of quality of life projects, but if this is gonna shift to now assist with drainage projects, which is a great idea, we first wanna know that they have the authority to do so, because there was a specific call of action for the board, and we wanna make sure that you are legally permitted to do what it was that the voters voted for at that time. And so I think that is gonna be important.
Mayor, and I seem to recall that the proposition that was approved only included parks.
I think I asked you about, when I first came on board, I would, say everybody's gonna pay for drainage, huge. And so I think we analyzed, this and there, and that's why, I mean, this is part of our talks in regards to this last, not this session, but previous session, and monies that can be utilized for. Because whenever you're asking for money, they wanna know, have you exhausted all options?
Yeah.
And so this one, since it hadn't been tapped into, I looked into it. So I think, maybe that's something that the board can get a report on. what
Yeah,
they
I can,
cannot-
and I'll give it to the
cannot do.
commission too.
So not, because all 4B4s are not the same, it's whatever was presented at that time for the charter amendment. And I don't know, because, I don't, when was that?
I have some memory of, we funded the convention center, but the 4A funded the plumbing and everything else for some reason. And maybe that was to do with the technicality of the 4B board.
We use TIF money to buy the property and TIF money to pay for the infrastructure for the roads that were constructed. So the TIF, I think it's 3, is reimbursing the city, it's about $500,000 a year, right?
Right.
Yeah, for those expenses.
Okay,
The 4B is paying for some of the debt that's owed in the convention center itself.
so let me go back,
But we had an attorney that looked at it and said, yeah, you could do that.
let me go back. You said, hey, if you guys don't wanna do the 2 million, can you give me a minimum 500K? Is that what you said?
Yes, to start the process of getting the,
It's reasonable.
Just, so I think, I see everybody nodding. I don't think we have to take a vote, but I'm taking, there's a consensus here that we agree to, let's ignore the Casa de Sol for 1 second. We agree to 100% of everything else presented. And in the Casa de Sol, we agree to 500,000, Gabe, to get you started, and then potentially to come back to us at a later date.
Yeah.
But tonight, for the purpose of going to the commission, $500,000.
Thank you guys very much.
Does everybody, any disagreement? Do I have to make a vote, Gabe?
yes, you do. You have to-
Okay,
you have to take a
so
vote.
do I have a motion to approve? I'll say them to make it easier, the swimming pool portion, the grant portion, and the one-time purchase portion of the request at 100%, and the historical preservation part of the project, not at the 2 million, but at the $500,000. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So motion approved.
Just to clarify, that's roughly 3.5 million.
I'm taking,
Yes.
You're taking 1.5 out.
yeah,
So
Yes.
yeah,
it's
4,
actually 3.482185, but rounding up. it's-
yep, minus 1.5.
Yeah.
Any further discussions, comments? It is 7:18. I'll call this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.